Hey guys, and welcome to the Kashif Boothe podcast. If you're new here, each week I sit down with a guest and we discuss their career so far, the highs, the lows, what they've learned, and what's next for them. Today's guest is Tianna. She is a writer director from London. How long have I known
Hi.
you now, Tianna?
Um,
I think it's
I
3.
think yeah, I think 3 years.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
yeah. Because I remember I was looking for directors to work on my then web series, and that
Hmm.
ended up getting cancelled anyway. So yeah, and that's we just bonded. We got on well. I remember we had such a great conversation that day. We just hit it off straight away. Really, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we
Hmm.
just kind of stayed in contact, and I've seen you grow and doing your work. I feel like, as I've said to you before, my favorite piece of yours is the closer I get to you. Listen, if you're a 90s nostalgia king or queen and you love like Brown Sugar and The Best Man, and listen, I could go on, like, hit up Tiana's work. Okay. So thank you for coming here today. Well, we're virtual, so for those critics out there, we are recording via Zoom, so that's why the audio sounds like how it is. We are in a global pandemic. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Cut some
yeah,
slack.
exactly. So thank you for being here.
No worries.
And so yeah, so I'll jump straight into this interview. So how did you get started? What made you want to work and be a film writer director?
Um, I mean that's kind of a choppy answer. So when I was younger, my mum's dad had a camcorder, and every time we would go over to his house, I'd be like, "Granddad, can I use the camcorder? Can I use the camcorder?" And just go around filming all these different kind of bits. But it still hadn't clocked then that I wanted to be a filmmaker. I was just messing about. Um, but as I got older, it was kind of more. I kind of like delved more into acting per se, and I went to acting workshops during the summer, and then I studied acting from 11 to 18, and still hadn't really thought about filmmaking. Hadn't really crossed my mind, and then I got to an age where I was like, I want to get an agent. I need to get an agent if I'm going to be this big time actor. I need an agent. And obviously, if you have no experience, agencies aren't looking your way. So I was like, well, I'm gonna create my own experience, and then they're gonna have to look at me and represent me, and then we're gonna blow up things. So I did a short film, Last Wish. Again, purely went into it thinking like this is just to get acting experience, so I have something to send them, so they can at least consider me. Um, and like fell in love with the process instantly, and I was just like, oh, okay, this is cool. I've not really explored this kind of side before. Like I was just messing about as a kid, but now I can kind of see it because I've always been that kid who loved English and loved movies. That was the easiest way to shut me up for a few hours. Put me in front of a movie, you never heard from me again. And so as time went on, I did that first film, and then I was like, oh, I got this idea for a next one. And then I did that. And before I knew it, I was just writing scripts and making films.
Sounds good. I mean, it's very. I've always said to actors, like, if you're going to be in this industry, you need to understand both sides of it, behind the scenes and in front of the camera, and that's what you did. But you clearly then fell in love with behind the scenes, and here we are
Yeah.
now as a writer director. So I think that's really good. I mean, and you've been directing for how long now?
Um, so we just passed 7 years. I started when I
Wow.
was 17.
Mm, that's really
Mm.
good. That's really good. I mean, the fact that you were creating content at such a young age, and how old are you now?
I'm gonna be 25 in July.
Wow, see that, look, the work ethic and the consistency for that is really
Yeah.
good. I think that's a really good that's really good to have, and I feel like
Thank you.
you're going to continue to grow as well because you're still young. Okay, and you continue to grow and move on, so that's really, really good. So what would you say, what steps have you taken in your career to get to where you are now, from being a 17-year-old aspiring actress to then becoming a filmmaker? What steps have you taken?
Um, well, when I first started, I was still in sixth form. I was still studying dramas, but I would then, because I had this new passion, I would pay close attention to my drama teachers and the way that they constructed the scenes that we were doing, and the way they gave them us advice and all those kind of things. And then I also was doing a lot of background extra work at the time as well. So I did Legacy, which was produced by Noel Clarke, and I did Brotherhood as well, and this horror film Patient Zero. And I would use those opportunities to watch the camera people and watch the directors and all those kind of things, and kind of just make mental notes of what they were doing and how they were doing it. And then when it came time to like choosing universities, I'd fully given up on acting. I think purely because I felt less anxious behind the camera than in front of the camera. So I was like, okay, directing seems to be the thing for me because I'm not as anxious and I don't feel like as if I'm in the spotlight as much. So when it came to choosing unis, I applied to only film unis, which was interesting. And my mom was like, "Really? That's how you're going with this? Cool." And I remember there was one particular uni that I really wanted to get into. And for me, there was no other option. That was the uni I needed to go to. I felt like in order to improve my craft. And so when I was getting these offers back from these other unis, I didn't even pay them any attention. I was just like, "Oh, that's great, but I want this one. I'm going for this one." So when I didn't get into that uni, I was like, oh man, like I've ignored all these other unis now. I probably it's too late to like reply or whatever the case may be. And then I think someone dropped out or someone declined the offer or something. I don't know. But they sent me an email and offered me an unconditional offer. Um, and next thing you know, I was studying film and TV, and I was just like, this is awesome. This is the best decision I could have ever possibly made because I feel at home. I feel as if I'm in my space in my bubble.
That's really good. I mean, I think that's really good to hear because when I went to university, I was like, get me out of here. Okay. Get me off this course. Okay. I did not like my film course. What I did. No, no. To me, uni, from my experience, was a waste of time. My
Yeah,
degree is pointless. It hasn't helped me in my career. Nothing. Yeah. But
I
that's so
think it
good to
was
hear.
cool. I think it what was cool was because I was going to it not really knowing anything about film. I learned so much about set design and cinematography and sound design, and props and costumes because the course that I was doing, although it was film and TV, we covered like everything. So every day in class we were learning something else that had to do with the film industry and the TV industry. So by the time I left, I was just like, yo, I've learned so much. I can't wait to now incorporate that into what I'm going to do with my films.
I see. Okay, that is really good. That is really good. That is really good to hear. So, in your career at this moment, like in 2021, can't even say it properly, 2021,
Hmm.
in 2021, what would you say what are what are your career highlights and what moments do you feel like were really tough for you? And like, how have you been able to overcome some of those hardships, or what did you learn from the good moments within your career so far?
Um, I think some of my highlights so far were well, one is definitely directing the Black History documentary that I did. Um,
Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so it was called the Central Club mural, and it's about this mural, this Black History mural that resides on the side of the Central Club, which was like a community center for Black people in Reading, and it's been there for 33 years now. And about 3 or 4 years ago, Reading Council sold the building with plans to, knock it down and build flats and whatever. But that obviously meant getting rid of the mural. And so the black community quickly were like, hell no, and started doing petitions and all these other things. Um, and then I got a call from the chairman from one of the companies, who's also my uncle, just saying, we're thinking about doing this documentary. Would you consider it? And I hadn't heard anything about this particular piece of art before. So when I looked into it, the more I looked into it, I was like, definitely, like, I have to do this. There is no way I can let anybody else do this. I have to. And that turnaround was pretty quick. I mean, pretty quick from like me saying, yes, I'll do it. We were filming within like the next week and a half. We'd gone up to Reading, and this was during like lockdown as well. Um, we'd gone up to Reading and we were interviewing people who were part of the mural, people who had curated the mural, um, people who were on the board to try and keep the mural. And I think like once it was finished and it was done, I watched the first time I watched it, I cried. I
Wow.
cried so hard because it sounds like I'm gonna cry now, but no, because it 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 made me so proud. Not because I had created this piece of work, but because it was about something that essentially was part of my history as a black person, and it was something that wasn't commonly seen. You don't really see documentaries about that or people talking about that unless it's Black History Month or something massive happens like Black Lives Matter. So to do that and to shine a light on what was going on for me, I was just like incredibly proud to have been a part of that. And it got such a great reception, and some guy from some newspaper was like, 20 years from now, people are going to be watching this in their history class,
Mm.
which freaks
Wow.
me out
Mm.
because I'm only 24. But for it to have had such significance to people of color, for them to even consider saying that, I was just like, okay, yeah, cool. This is a cool moment. Um, the other one would be I did my first film festival, screening last year with The Closer I Get to You. And that was a pretty cool moment as well because with that particular festival, we had been speaking about 3 or 4 years before that about doing something together or me submitting a film to them. And it was never the right time. And whenever they were trying to submit it, I had uni deadlines or the film wasn't finished. And it just, for a long time, felt like it was just going to be one of those conversations we kept having and nothing happened. Um, and luckily, with The Closer I Get to You, it was finished in time. And, I sent it to them and, they still could have said no. It goes through a board of people, and on that board was my former employee, and we didn't end on such great terms. So I knew that if it had come down to it and she had the last say, it wasn't going to happen. But it got in, and it was like, we want to do a Q&A screening as a special event, and I was like, huh? Oh, okay, cool, sweet, awesome. Huh? What? I couldn't. You know what I mean? I couldn't believe it. And then they're like,
I've
we
been
need you
there.
to. Yeah, I was like, they need you to. They said to me, we need you to pick someone to host this event, someone you admire, someone who inspires you. Um, and the first person who popped into my head was Shirovsky, who hosted the event, um, because she's like my sister, and from the moment that we met, coincidentally at my former workplace, um, she was just like this force of sunshine. And every time I needed advice or every time I was doing something, she was that person with the pom poms, like going, "Whoa, go Tiana, go!" And so when I thought about having this massive moment in my career, I was like, "Well, it has to be her." And doing that screening and having people, because it was on Zoom, and then having people actually attend, for me, I was just satisfied. I was like, all right, cool. There's a decent amount of people here. I'm good. Sweet. And they get to the Q&A part of it where people are asking questions, and I've got people from Scotland, and I've got this woman from Indiana in the United States asking me questions, and I was just like, oh, whoa, that's that's big. Like, you just a girl from Peckham. Okay, sweet, calm. I was gassed. I won't lie. I went
As you
afterwards.
should, as you should have, as you should be. Like, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like afterwards,
Amazing.
I ordered a pizza and I was just dancing to Stevie Wonder all night. It was the best. It was the best feeling. What was the second part of your question?
No, you got lost in it. I love it, but I'm gonna have to bring you down now
Okay,
because I need to ask you. So, what are
okay.
some of the hardest things you face in your career so far, and how have you been able to overcome them?
Um, hardest things. I mean, I think for being a low budget production company, that is just hardship, just in
Well, not
general.
low
You know,
budget, say independent. Okay,
yeah,
low budget just
independent. Yeah,
sounds.
low budget sounds like I got money, but I'm being stingy. No,
Yeah, yeah.
um, being an independent filmmaker, you know, when I like I said, I started when I was 17. I didn't have no money. You know, I didn't have no job. I wasn't working, so I was saving up like money from birthdays and Christmases, and you know,
Wow.
my grandparents would give us money on Sundays, and you know, I'd save that up and all that kind of stuff. And even through uni, you know, student finance and whatever. And I really hope no one from student finance is listening. But um,
Listen, that's money they give you to spend, right? Okay.
yeah,
So, yes, you spent it on books, right? Wink, wink. So, yeah, it
exactly.
went to
I
your
spent it
film.
on
So, it's
books.
the same thing. It's cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
I would use that to fund my films, and by that point as well, I was working in the cinema, and you know, half of the money I was making from the cinema was going to funding films as well. So, I mean, when you don't really have as big of a budget as like these Hollywood films, there's not really much you can do. You can try and do your
Mhm.
best and make sure that it comes out the best that it can, but ultimately you're restricted by the fact that you don't have the means and the funds to get what you need and make it the way that you are. And that's been one of the biggest issues that I've faced within these 8 years is, you know, I don't think small, and people have said this many a time. I don't think small. I think like grand scale, Hollywood scale.
Mhm.
And like I said before, I'm a girl from Peckham, so I don't understand how that's correlated. But I think I tend to think big, especially with film ideas, and you know, big film ideas need big film money, and
Mhm.
Tiana be trying to make it with small film money. So you know that it don't really work as well as it should. And I've learned my lesson. I've tried to learn my lesson. But there's also as well. I mean, I was filming with The Closer I Get to You. There was this a scene towards the middle of the film where it's in the bar. Well, it's at the beginning as well, but it's in the thing. And because I shoot by location, the plan was to spend the whole day in this bar, and I booked it for like 6 hours and had planned it with the manager and went over and you know the times and whatever because it was from like 10 to 6. And I know that typically they didn't open till 12 because it was the bar that I would go to at uni.
Mhm.
But every time I asked them, "Are you sure we can be there at 10? Are you certain?" They were like, "Yeah, it's fine. It's cool. No worries. We'll have someone come meet you. You go downstairs, do your thing. It's not a thing." And then half an hour before we were supposed to start filming, I got a call saying that we couldn't come until 12. So by that point, you know, my crew's on the way, my cast is
Mhm.
on the way, my extras are on the way, my cab's outside my house.
Mhm.
I'm loading up the cab, and then I'm going from that to then having to call everybody and
Wow.
say, "Yo, we've just been pushed back by 2 hours. I don't know where you are, but if you're on a train, get off. You know, if you're in a cab, tell them to turn your ass around because we've now got 2 hours free." And because of that, we lost almost all of our extras. Only three extras
Wow.
ended up showing up when we had like, I
Wow.
think we had like 25 or 30 or so, because it wasn't really a big place anyway, but you know, we had a large group of extras and only three ended up being able to make it because for everyone else, it was last minute changes and they were only supposed to be there for a couple hours and they had plans afterwards and all that kind of stuff. Um, so that for me, that was a massive learning curve. That was
Mhm.
when I was like, okay, you need a contingency plan.
Mhm.
Whatever happens, whenever, it doesn't matter if it's like confirmed and signed and the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, you need a contingency plan because you can't go through what you went through. You just, it can't happen ever again. Um, but lo and behold, you know, once we got there, 2 hours late, they then tried to kick us out 2 hours
Oh,
early.
what?
Yeah, yeah, uh-huh. Because they had a quiz night, and they needed to set up. Um, and by that point, I was stressing because I've still got like 2 scenes left to shoot, and this one scene I'm shooting it's not going well, um, and I'm ready to give up. But I've got a job to do, so I'm just trying to stick to that. And it was just we had to like reshoot the majority of those scenes um, at a different location because they refused to let us come back and reshoot.
What? After they
Yeah,
messed you over
yeah,
like that?
yeah.
The
So
audacity.
about a week later, I emailed the manager. I say, look, we need to come back and reshoot because you guys kicked us out 2 hours early after letting us in 2 hours late.
You have a
And he was
contract,
like,
an agreement.
yeah.
This is all illegal. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah, no, for true. And he was just, it's not happening. I said, oh, it's gonna happen. Trust and believe that. And he's like, it's not happening. It was a one-time occasion and rare, rare, and blah blah. And I was like, cool. Well, you can keep your £30 deposit, but if you think you're getting anything else from me, you are sadly mistaken.
that's right.
And I took the rest of the money I was supposed to give this man, and I hired a different location.
Good.
That one that didn't really work out either, but that was a different story. that
Oh gosh.
was a different story. With that
Oh
one, they just
man.
double booked us, but they found us another location. Um, and we got to use that for twice the amount of time that we were supposed to.
Mhm.
Even though that manager was trying to kick us out too because it was like this really
Oh my
important football
god.
game
Listen,
that
you're
was
gonna have
going
a good.
on.
I don't know what it is. It seems like you're just finding bad managers for bars, like
Yeah,
who say
yeah,
one thing but do another. Like, oh gosh.
mhm,
It's so interesting
100%.
that happened to you because when I've booked bars and stuff to film in, like for my web series Nate and Jamie, I booked out a wine bar in Lewisham and he wasn't open on Sunday, so that was the best day
Mhm,
to shoot. So I booked
mhm,
it for 12 hours and I paid £600. So we had it all day. So there was
yeah,
I didn't have the option of, not option, but just at the back of my mind, okay, I need to wrap this up now because blah blah blah. They've got to do quiz night or this night or blah blah blah. It was literally okay. We were there from 7 to 7, and that was that. But we had to
yeah,
be out by 7. Do you
mhm,
get what I'm saying? Like, and that was
yeah,
more of what the stress was. Thankfully, I wasn't directing that day because there's no way I could hack it. I mean, funny story, what happened to me? I went away for an hour to get lunch. Come back, all hell broke loose. Did they break the man's glass in the bar? So it was just like great. So I've been there where you've been. I know. The life of an independent filmmaker is rough, okay? And the
mhm,
thing what you also it's about telling people, look, I know you're not getting paid, but at the end of the day, I'm paying for this. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, where do you think the six
yeah,
hundred pound came from? It didn't just pluck from the
yeah.
sky. Like, do you get what I mean? Like,
That
I'm
was
broke
that
right
was the
now
other
trying to
thing
make
as
sure you're
well.
fed.
That was the other thing as well. So it was pushed back 2 hours behind. And there's from all the scenes we were doing, there were certain people who were in all the scenes, certain people who
Mm-hmm.
were in one scene or 2 scenes. So I had them come in at staggered times just because I didn't want anybody sitting around that weren't supposed to be in the scene and they end up in the
Okay.
scene and so
Right,
forth.
right, right.
And then so there's a particular actress who's supposed to start, I think, at 1, and comes late, by the way. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's like by now, it's like quarter past or half past 1. She comes late. And then she's rushing me because she's got to leave in an hour. And I was like, me, you showed up late. Like,
Wait. Hold on. I need to make sure I'm hearing this correctly. An
yeah.
actress showed up late and then is
Hmm.
rushing you to say she needs to go
Hmm.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
understand. Why are you
100%.
making plans when you're coming to set?
A
You're
hundred, a
not
hundred
a
percent.
you're not a high paid actress where you've got loads of things to do and you may need to go to another shoot. The delusion. What? I can't believe that.
That was the thing, you know what I mean? And so then I'm trying to rush around to do this one scene that she's in, and that's the scene that's not working because it was supposed to be shot outside, but it was too sunny, so all we were getting was sunglasses. And then we moved it back inside, and that was working. But then she couldn't remember her lines,
Oh, please, not an actress who
and then
is being demanding but doesn't know her lines. Oh,
yeah, like it got to the point where I think everyone kind of registered that that I was pissed off. It
Mm-hmm.
just got to a, Tiana's, she's not okay. I need to hit those lines. Okay, shit. Let me go read them real quick and then come back in, because it was just, I was just like so vexed. I was cutting like mid take. Two
Mm-hmm.
sentences in, I was like, cut, 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 cut. I ain't feeling it. It's not
Oh
believable. Start
gosh.
again. If you need 3 minutes to go read your lines, go read them now, but stop wasting my time because it is precious. It got to the point where I just ended up having to cut that person out of the scene
Wow.
because it wasn't working. And I was just getting frustrated. And I was just like,
Mm.
look, I don't want to do this, but it's not working. Go home, do whatever it is that you have to do. I'm gonna try and make the scene work with the two actors that I have now. So that was an interesting day. I was very stressed that day, very
So
stressed.
dealing with those actors and dealing with
Yeah,
the location issues and stuff, what is your biggest takeaway from that? Because I'm sure the listeners can relate to what you said, especially independent filmmakers. Like, what
yeah.
have you learned from that? What are you gonna do
um,
next?
what am I gonna do next? Well, first of all not gonna go to a location that assures me they can be open at a particular time, and then cancel last minute. I haven't got the mental capacity for that anymore. Um, I'm also I've also introduced this policy, right? If you're more than 10 minutes late and you don't call me, do not show up. I will figure it out. I will rewrite the scene there on the spot, because it's embarrassing and it's annoying when everyone's looking at you like, how come we can't start yet? And I got to be like, oh, we're waiting on this person. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, and then
yeah.
when they come, they got to do makeup, they got to change and all these kind of things. Then you'll push back even more time. So I introduced that policy. After that day, I was like, okay, cool. If they're not here by 10 minutes afterwards, don't even show up. Like, just assume you've been fired because I've not got the time for it. Um, and then always have a contingency plan. Always have a backup plan and another backup plan and then another backup plan. Have like three backup plans, because if plan B fails, you know that you thought about it in two other different ways and you don't spend all your time stressing like a lunatic.
No, good. I think for you, my advice to you also would be to get a producer so that the producer can handle all that. Do you get what I'm saying? And get references. Get references.
Mm-hmm.
Get references. Make sure you get references. But the thing is, what I've learned is that sometimes when you're working with actors and they're not being paid, um, there tends to be a lack of care. So it's like, well, I'm not getting paid, so I don't need to be
Yeah.
there on time, or do you know what I mean? And I used to find it very disrespectful, and it used to make my anxiety be very high because I'm like, I don't know if they're going to show up. I don't know if they're going to be on time, because I had actors sometimes not show up on the day. And literally, you
Mm-hmm.
just have to like make it work or come up with some BS excuse. I'm so sorry, I'm sick, or oh my gosh, my best friend's been in an accident or whatever, and it's like, okay, yeah, whatever. And then when people say that to me on the day of set, and I'm like, okay, they're lying. They look at me like, how could you be so inconsiderate? They could be telling the truth. I'm like, I've heard the same excuses like 5,000 times. So, so I think for you, get a good producer, a producer who can
Mm-hmm.
handle all of that, so that, do you get what I mean? You don't have to worry about that. So you can vet these actors or vet the crew you're working with, so that you don't have to deal with that again. Because as a director, you just want to focus on the shot. You want to focus, you want to work on the scene with the DOP. Those are, and work with your gaffer. Those are the key things that you want to do when you're on
Yeah.
set. You don't want to be worrying about where's the actor, or oh my gosh, the set is not gonna be ready for
Mm-hmm.
us on time. The producer can figure that out. And the production manager can do it,
100%.
because that's their job, to anticipate what needs to be done, be a problem solver, and do the next thing. So yeah. So what would you say is the best piece of advice you've received in your career so far?
Besides that one just now,
Oh.
um,
Well, I try.
um, I think at the beginning of my career, I was just pushing films out, and there were certain aspects of the film that I was ignoring or was like, oh, I'll fix it in post. Um, and so there's like some like my really early films besides Last Wish. You know, there's an issue if it's not camera quality or sound quality or lighting quality or whatever. Um, and actually, after speaking to Sherelle, we had this deep, profound conversation, and she said, you know, it's about quality, not quantity. So don't push the films out because you just want to be banging films out every single year, which I'm still doing, but now I take more time to think about them. Make sure that when you're doing a film, your quality wise is 100%. There's not something where you look back at it and you say, "Oh, that could have been better," or "Oh, I wish I'd done that," or you know, um, "Oh, why didn't I go for that option on the day," or whatever the case may be. Think about all those things as you're doing them, um, and then also as well, just make sure that when as you're within that process of making it, make sure that the quality is always a consideration, and never, ever, ever use the words "I'll fix it in post." Fix it now. Um, so I think that's the piece of advice that stuck with me in the last I think 2 or 3 years since we've had that conversation. You know, and so every time I'm doing a project now, instead of going, oh, I fixed it in post, I'm like, all right, now I'm gonna fix it now. Let's do this now. Let's attack this problem now. Let's take 5 minutes and think about why this doesn't look good or why this doesn't feel right or how we can make this better. Um, Purely because it's less stressful than being in the edit suite with your editor and trying to think of 700 different ways to fix a problem that could have easily been fixed in like 5 minutes.
I agree. I hate the term, oh, we'll fix it in post. No, we don't know what's going to happen in post. So I don't like that. We need to make sure that we have enough options and we've created a solution. And then in post, we've got enough to choose from. That's
Mm-hmm.
always been my mantra. I've never liked it because you just don't know. You just
Yeah.
don't know what can happen. Like it might not be fixable, you know, or you might need to spend more money to fix this and you don't have the money. So I totally
Mm-hmm.
agree with that advice. So what's
Mm-hmm.
next for you? Like what's coming up next?
Um, I think right now, because of lockdown, I can't actively be filming anything, um, which has been it's I miss filming so much. I miss being on set, and I miss like kind of adrenaline you get on the first day. And so I'm really annoyed by the fact that I can't film anything or physically go out and film anything at the moment in time. So a lot of my time has been spent writing, um, writing, you know, short films, micro shorts, like full length shorts, features, web series, and purely, you know, just to keep my mind active and to keep my mind sharp. Give me something to do, because if you know if I get up and I'm on my laptop all day and I'm just watching YouTube videos, my eyes start to blur. I get real tired and I feel like I'm not honest to God.
But it's
Like I
boring.
feel
I don't know how people can do that all day.
that
I just
too,
yeah,
that too. But I always end up by the end of the day feeling like I've not accomplished anything, and I
yeah,
feel
I
like I've
get
not
that.
done anything, and that's okay. You know, for a certain day, one day have a chill day, watch movies all day. That's fine.
Hmm.
Um, but if I do that for more than a day, my brain's just like, "Yo, are you trying to kill me? What's going on?" So I've been doing a lot of writing, and I'm in pre-production for a feature that I'm hoping to shoot in summer
Hmm.
if COVID lets us.
Hmm.
So that's been fun is right now because right now we're in the casting process of that, and so I've been doing a lot of chemistry reads and having production meetings with my producer, um, and just kind of trying to get us to a place that by August we financially can make it happen. We've thought about every aspect when it comes to safety, um, and we don't have to compromise what is truly one of my favorite films that I've ever written.
Hmm. Okay, great. Sounds good. I mean, we're all in this tough situation. I mean, I was able to do a couple of projects last year um, during COVID, and then I was able to do one before COVID. So I feel like for me, I was saying this to another interviewee, I will I've been able to understand how to adapt to COVID. So that's the most important thing. Doing Talioverses, I've done I think yeah, you have watched that.
Yeah.
That was yeah, a really good test to see like, okay, how can I do this with the pandemic, okay, and keep everybody safe and stuff like that. And we was able to pull that off in such a short amount of time. So to do that and be able to do it successfully, it showed me that okay, I can actually do this. So that's what's been good. So my 2021 has been very similar, just kind of focusing on how I can make those projects a reality now. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the most important thing. So yeah, so thanks for joining me in my podcast realm
No worries.
virtually. So where can the listeners find you? Like what's your social media? Where can they see your work and stuff like that?
Um, Social media is Tianna Banton. There's no fancy, you know, anecdotes or any none of that. Just simple TIANNABANTON. In terms of films, which is actually really cool now, is that if you type my name into Google, all of my work comes up on like this
Nice.
little like overview tab thingy majiggy, which my friend pointed out to me like yesterday. So I mean, yeah, if you Google my name, my stuff will come up. It was actually really weird as well because I was at the dentist just before Christmas, and she's doing her thing, she's going through the records, whatever. And she goes, "Oh, Tiana Banton." I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "I think I've seen one of your films," and I was like,
What?
"Oh, okay, cool, cool. Are we going to talk about this now or after you?" We're gonna Okay, sweet. Um, so yeah, apparently
Amazing.
it's just out there. The closer I get to you, it's doing really well. That's available on YouTube and Amazon Prime as well. Um, there's a little short called The Aftermath that's doing pretty well as well. Um, there's a couple of shorts coming up at some point this year um, that are really great as well. So yeah, I mean, like Google me. That sounds really cocky. Jeez. Uh,
Know your
Sounds
worth.
really
You
like
just gotta know
like
your worth.
snobby and bougie and shit. Like who am I? But yeah, YouTube, Vimeo, Amazon Prime. You know, that's where I be. That's where I
Great.
be.
Well, thank you again for joining me on my podcast. Thank you guys
No
for
worries.
listening. You can find me on social media at Kashif Booth or the Kashif Booth podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes coming soon.